Hey everyone, welcome back to episode number 7. And today is actually very, very special. And I'll let Vanessa Raath tell you why it's special because it has to do with the number 7. Now, if you don't know, this is a segment from Off the Hiring Record where we cover anonymous confessions, thoughts, stories, and questions from recruiters, hiring managers, and candidates. And as I always say, it's for everyday people like you and myself. I always have to say this. We are here to listen. We are here to share our thoughts. We do not judge. It's 100% anonymous. And again, we do not care what your industry or background is. We just want to create a safe space for everyone. So enough talking from me. Vanessa Raath, the myth, the legend, is back on for the first time on this one, but you've been on the Crafty Saucer before. Thanks for joining.
Hey, Dee. Well, look, it's always a pleasure to spend time with you. So anytime that you invite me onto your podcast, I'm like, great, because then we get to catch up. So thanks for having me. It's great to be here. And the significance of number 7, today, the Talent Hunter is 7 years old. So we are recording it on our 7-year anniversary. So thank you very much. It's a privilege to start my day this way.
You are so well known in our community, right? I think you and I connected a few years ago, met you at a couple of SOSU conferences as well, but you are so loved in our sourcing community. You are one of the go-to people besides all the other names that we rub shoulders with. So obviously you've seen your business go from 0 to 1, right? In this day and age, it's all around AI. You and I were talking about this before. So what I've chosen specifically for you is something very close to our craft. So as we know with the format, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through one of the, and there might be a couple of swear words only because I want to relay the way people have written it.
And I won't take offense.
And then we'll go into 2 of the questions that people have asked us to just share our thoughts on, and kind of we take it from there. I'm going to go on to, let's start with a question first of all. So I'm going to flip the script here a bit. And instead of doing a confession first, let's do a question. So the first one is, I'm so tired of all the hype around AI sourcing tools. Sure, they offer nice filtering to find candidates with clearances or funding experience, but the data quality is not great and the reply rate is dismal. Why isn't anyone doing fact-based matching and allowing candidates to find a job confidentially? A place where both sides state their needs and wants, and algo will match them. Then that makes the introduction to each other. Any tools doing this? I know that underdog.io for tech is the only one I've seen. Take it away, V. What's your thoughts on that?
Look, I think that's a fantastic idea. And you're right. I mean, if you look at my list of AI tried and tested skills, the biggest block is sourcing talent, because everyone's building AI tools around sourcing talent. Even companies that previously were email campaign tools now have built the sourcing element in it. They've almost said that this is the easiest part of the recruitment process for us to use AI. We're going to build something around it. So I love your idea of somewhere where anonymously people can sign up and say, this is what I'm looking for. And then there can be clients on the other side saying, this is a match. It does take out the middleman of the recruiter. So I think the agency recruiter won't be happy with that. But for an internal team, like where you're working at the moment, I think that that's a great move. Why don't you build that? We've just been speaking about building things with vibe coding. Yeah. Why don't you think about it? I mean, with AI these days, everyone's always saying that, if you can think it, then do it, build it. I think that would be a great idea.
Funny enough, there are actually a couple of companies that are doing very similar work, because I think what this person is asking is for like a curated marketplace of talent and jobs at the same time. I think Wellfound does something very similar. There's a company called NextPlay, but that's for anyone and everyone, but it's more US based. Okay. What else is there? In Australia, we have a company called Expert 360. I don't know if you've heard of them. They do something similar, which is a curated marketplace as well. And I think maybe just more around, we need something. Again, we feel like there's so many AI tools out there that could be more of a band-aid solution versus an actual proper, I'm here to solve this.
Is the sticky point, is that there's so many options. So everyone is looking at it from like an analysis paralysis. Too many options actually of where should we be signing up? What should we be doing? So what we're seeing a lot of is candidates going to sites like Join Handshake. And basically what that does is just applies to jobs willy-nilly, like on their behalf. Now, a funny story with that, in my previous life, I was a specialist Java recruiter. Signed up to Join Handshake, put on my CV, which is basically my LinkedIn profile, and said, off you go. And next thing, it was applying to Java developer roles for me. So, I mean, that interview would have been a hell of an awkward, seeing that I don't write a line of code. So basically, Dee, I think that that's still very hit and miss, but I think that that is an excellent opportunity out there, especially for the candidate who's sitting in a position, they don't know where to turn. They, the feeling around LinkedIn jobs is that we apply for so many opportunities. We never hear back from anyone. We may as well throw our CV into a big dark pit. At least from here, if you even had agents that were mediating between the two, I sat with a really good company the other day in the US, and what they do is they've built a fantastic voice agent. And what it does, and they say they're adding 1,000 candidates a day at this point, is it interviews the candidates. So as soon as the candidate's on the market, you upload your CV. It says, can we have a quick 45-minute chat? It interviews them. So they are creating a database themselves of ready-to-go candidates. Nice. However, what they're trying to do now is to get the client side also involved, because that's where you've got to match. It's not just a one-sided activity.
It's interesting you say that. Voice AI, I feel, is now becoming the thing over text.
Absolutely. For me, at least, anyway, because I hate typing. I'm the laziest person when it comes to admin, to be honest. You understand the real recruiter profile. So if I can, I'm going to talk to my LLMs and have conversations. And I really must admit that that is the way forward for me. And it's a game changer. Even something simple like Copilot. Everyone moans about Copilot, but we get it for free in our Outlook. Like, I don't understand why people aren't using it more. I dictate all of my emails now into my Outlook's Copilot. It then writes up the email. And then because I don't have the paid for version, it's just a quick copy and paste. And straight into the email, and then I have my response. So it's just saving hours and hours of work, because recruiters are natural talkers, let's face it.
And I think that whoever this recruiter is that posted this, I think it's, to your point, it's actually a good opportunity for them to deep dive into AI, see what they can build. If it's a pain point, this is the best way to create something that's a pain point for you, right? This is where the best ideas come from.
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly. So and that comes down to a very important skill, which is listening. And that is listening to the pain points of the people out there. So yeah, that's really the platform that you've built, because it is that safe place, which everybody needs.
All right, we're going to go on to the next one. This is also around AI, because I think you're definitely at the forefront of what we are doing within AI, especially within our community. This is from a candidate though, right? Their question is, what's with just using AI and not even organizing an auto response like in the good old service-oriented days? That says that the application has been received. Aren't talent acquisition teams human anymore? Why have a phone number advertised and then send that to an automated service and the candidate doesn't hear back at all? This is a bit of a sticking point, isn't it?
You know what? I hate to say it, like rightly so. And I think that what has happened, Dee, I mean, if you go back 3 and a bit years now, OpenAI launched ChatGPT, which was the start of the AI tsunami. And what happened was, from that moment, there's almost been like panic in our industry. And the TA teams are losing that human side, because there's this panic about AI. And what do we pay for? What tools should we get? Are we getting enterprise level tools? Instead of just focusing on the basics, things like pick your LLM, choose your favorite one, pay for it, and get the most out of it. Because then every recruiter has the built-in assistant in the LLM in order to be more human and in order to get back to everyone. And I think that in the panic of keeping up with the Joneses and, we need all the shiny new tools and all of those things, the human side has got lost. Because the AI has generated a lot more admin. And I think I know the candidates are the ones who are suffering and having a lesser candidate experience as a result of this, which is a massive issue for companies, for brands. And we need to almost get back to basics when it comes to recruitment. And remember why we went into recruitment, ourselves. It was to help people. And we're not really helping people at the moment like we should be.
Yeah. I think also when you kind of think about going back to basics, I think in HR, in TA, we are probably the last breed that sticks to new tech. Like we are so behind from a tech perspective, whereas other functions, they're a lot more progressive. And I feel like sometimes we overcomplicate our jobs, which is actually should actually be so simple to do. Like, just going back to a candidate. And, we've all been candidates. We've all had that frustration where we're like, hey, we look good for the role. I've reached out. We've had a phone chat. I haven't heard back from you. Basic decency is a human thing. It's not even related to any field or any occupation for that matter. And look, sometimes it is hard. And I do say to candidates, sometimes when you're bogged down, inundated with applications, it is always going to be hard to go back to everyone. However, if you do things in a staggered approach, no update is not an update. Even if you just go back and say, I don't have anything just yet, they're still appreciative, and that doesn't take 5 minutes, 10 minutes at all.
Exactly.
But to your point, we can obviously automate a lot of that, which we've been doing for years, but we just haven't done it well. We've just gone with the most simple things of doing it. And we even overcomplicated that.
I think that there's also too many red tapes and bureaucracy for companies to jump through. Like, are we allowed to do this? Are we not? Are we going to pay for this tool? Are we not? Just get back to people. Do what's right by other people, because that is still the biggest issue. So I opened my business 7 years ago, been in recruitment for over 20 years. When I started, people were going on about what's the biggest problem? Oh, ghosting. Recruiters are terrible. We lumped in with the second-hand car salesman, the estate agents, all of those things. And it actually hasn't changed, has it? Mm. And that's one thing that we need to be very aware of, is that the recruiters that are standing out for me at the moment are the ones that have that empathy and they have that human touch. And they're the ones that are going to get the repeat business in a world of AI, because people remember them and they remember what they did for them. And that's going to be more important than anything else.
Correct. I mean, when you even think of all these recent layoffs that have happened at Atlassian and Block.
Yeah, I saw that.
There's some, I've been talking to candidates in and out over here, especially the ones that are impacted in Melbourne. And they are inundated with calls, with interviews, to the point where they didn't have to do any of that few years ago. And now this is where the empathy side comes in, because you can't screw around with those candidates. Why? Because their roles have just been impacted. And this is where that care factor, that empathy comes into play. And whether or not they sign your offer or they don't, they will remember that experience that you gave them during that.
Yeah. 100%. And I think we're just going to see more of that in this day and age, unfortunately. That it's not, I think there's a lot of, I think it's called AI ghosting or something, where a lot of people blaming AI for the fact that they are laying off a whole lot of people. But I think there was excessive hiring during and post COVID, and companies got bloated, and now suddenly the global economy has just taken a nosedive, and now your biggest expense is your payroll, and that's going to be a problem.
Correct. All right. Thanks so much for that, B. We are going to move on to the last segment, which is obviously the thoughts, people sharing whatever they've been through. This is from a candidate. This one actually made me laugh quite a bit. So they said, I was so nervous during an interview that I accidentally said, and they said, needless to say, I didn't get the job. So what's your take on it? I'm all about authenticity and I'm all about be yourself, but I know there are certain things we always need to avoid saying. But you know what? This would have been an honest mistake by them. We don't know if they got the job or not. Or they didn't get the job because of that. That's another thing.
It's so subjective, because, if I think back to the company where I worked in previously, they were always the same two interviewers that I had. One of them would have found that hilariously funny and thought that was really have a good chuckle. The other one was quite straight down the line, quite narrow, who would have thought, well, we don't use that language at this organization, yet we all did. But I think that it's a really difficult thing. Obviously you want to try not to. One of the things that stayed with me in my career was I did a keynote about 2 years ago in Spain. And one of the speakers came to me and said to me afterwards, well done. You're one of the first keynote speakers that I've heard that didn't swear through their presentation. And I was like, what do you mean? She says, no, everybody else swears. And I was kind of like, wow, I never thought of it like that. in the right kind of audience. And if I'm delivering a keynote, it's not top of mind to swear, but I think it's about picking your audience and knowing where you can do that and where you can't. And I think that that's the important thing. I would say an interview, I wouldn't start with that, but once you maybe get warmed up in the company, things would change. But it's still, for me, almost like a unwritten rule is, your first meeting, you've got to watch yourself.
Correct. I still, there have been some hiring managers that I've worked with in the past, and during our one-on-one sessions, our weekly cadence, they would swear and have a chat. I'm all for swearing. I'm like, as if you feel comfortable, that's fine. But then I also started to think, I was like, oh, if they're swearing, does that mean I can also swear? And I was like, I want to tiptoe around that. So I actually tried it once and it was fine. We both were swearing in that conversation. I was like, okay, they're comfortable with me. I'm comfortable with them. But I agree with you, in an interview, if it happens by mistake, it happens. But it also really, I think you're right. It depends who your audience is, age, all of that also comes into play.
Yeah, no, exactly, 100%. And to be honest with you, in all business meetings and things, generally will stay away from the F-bomb. Like, I really and truly will. I think that the odd shit is not really a problem. And that's barely a swear word these days, to be honest. I mean, come on,
correct.
Everyone uses that. But I'm not going to throw around like derogatory terms against people's, gender or race or anything like that. That's also just a big no-no for me forever, in any conversation. So, it's just unfortunate that it happened. I can understand it happening. Like you stub your toe or you slam your finger at a door. What's the first word you're going to say?
Correct. Yeah. I just thought that was funny. And I was like, okay, who should I bring this up with? And I was like, let me do it with V. But that was it. Thank you. I said, this is going to be super short. It's going to be to the point, and that was it. But thank you so much for joining.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me to be on the drop. I've loved your other episodes, and it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much. And obviously, who's next? Well, you recommend who's next. Marin definitely is coming on next. We've got a couple of others also locked in. But if you think from outside of Australia, more than happy. I would love to get candidates on here as well and, share their experiences. But if you have someone to nominate, and I will get them on.
Okay, perfect. Cheapers, that's a big one. I think to put them on the spot and get their answers, because they are quite funny, is hook Marcel up and see what it is.
BFG, let's get BFG on.
Get the BFG on and throw some really tough AI questions at him.
Sounds good. No, I'll definitely do that. I'll reach out to him as well. But thanks, we really appreciate you making the time to join us.
Always good to see you. Thank you.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.